So we met in the Coast Guard, and as soon as we got married, he handed me his paycheck and said, "This is your job."
It was just something we didn't really have in my family growing up. I just never really learned the importance of managing that at a young age. When she came into the picture, she was seemed a lot more responsible with that, and so I was like, felt some freedom in handing that check over to her.
For a long time, we did fine with me budgeting and managing the money, but it wasn't until we had the kids that we really got into debt. And our kids are IVF babies. We tried for 6 years to have them, and we lost many pregnancies between the time we started and the time we actually had kids. And you bargain. You're like, God, if you just let this happen, I promise you I will X, Y, and Z, which is not something you're supposed to do. And we ended up having 2 healthy kids, and we moved to Austin in 2018. And I told him, I was like, I made some pretty big promises for these babies, and I really want to fulfill it. North Point, their website said, "We are church for non-church people." And I was like, let's try that place, and have been coming ever since. We had all this debt. We had student loan debt, we had credit card debt, we were paying on the van, and it had gotten to the point where I just was not sleeping at night anymore. I was filled with anxiety. Money Matters came up in church, and I just looked at him and I said, it's time. I need help. I can't do this alone anymore.
My perspective of our financial situation when she turned at me and said she needed help was, oh, wow. It was a good realization for me, like, I need to step up as a husband and really take my part in this. I had a lot of hesitations. I think the biggest reason I handed her my check after we got married was finances were scary for me, you know? And so going into Money Matters, I was freaked out a little bit, you know, but once we got in there, all that fear was kind of swept aside, and I think it made it a lot easier for me to face those challenges with her instead of letting her lead that alone.
It made our marriage better because I now have a partner in the finances, and I know that he's on board with me because I know that he's my teammate. I will say the leadership in that group really made us feel like we were not alone, that we were not being talked down to, that we all have our own issues and we can all figure out how to do it. And it was a zero judgment zone. And I think that was big for both of us. So we've paid off about $30,000 worth of consumer debt.
We've had some setbacks since the group, you know, but I think the group gave us the tools necessary to realize that we're gonna have some setbacks along the way, but that they gave us the tools to, you know, recover from those setbacks and keep making progress. Before Money Matters, I didn't think God really had anything to do with money. You know, I grew up hearing that money's like the root of all evil, and so I never put the two together. I think Dave Ramsey's perspective and hearing how, like, you're really receiving this money as a gift from God, and I mean,
we're just the stewards of it. It's not ours to keep.
It put a different spin on it, you know, and yeah, I mean, it just made it a little easier to manage that way.
Buck talked about one time when he was teaching us to pray, and there was a moment where it talked about your daily bread. And we definitely feel like we are always given our daily bread. If there's something that's needed and we just are like, I don't know where we're gonna make room for this, somehow, some way, it just appears, and I can only attribute that to God.